5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello and welcome to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. So this is the podcast where my co-host and I listen to all the Cincinnati-based craft beer podcasts from the previous week, and we get together here at our gracious podcast host, BC's Bottle Lodge, Montgomery, and we give our version of the truth of how those podcasts went. Hopefully there aren't too many consequences from the hosts of the other podcasts, and so far so good. My name is Marco. I'm a brewer and a bartender here locally, and I'm about to introduce the best co-host in Podcastlandia. And when I do that and I introduce you, the joke is that I actually didn't introduce you, and then you say, "Hi, everybody."
Hi, guys. I'm Julia. I'm a craft beer drinker here in Cincinnati. Love all the craft beers, love all the Cincinnati craft beers, and on occasion I write little funny parodies about beer, most specifically during Beervent season, which it's now August, but the Beervent calendars from Higher Gravity are on sale now. So go to Higher Gravity Craft House, HAUS.com to order yours. There's no set time frame for how long they're going to be available. They will be available until they sell out. So if you're on the fence, do it. Otherwise, don't complain to us or to Higher Gravity when it gets closer to Beervent season, Beervent time, and you don't have a calendar and they are sold out.
Right.
Yep.
And then you just have to, have FOMO and cry when you see everybody posting about the fun community that the Beervent box builds and supports by everybody pulling out the same thing on the same day, and and you're left out.
Yep. So don't be that guy or that gal and order your Beervent box.
Yes.
Do it. I do have to say, I do have a slight complaint about our gracious podcast host today. There's a whole flock of Cobra chickens right outside of the patio. A little too close for my comfort. I asked producer Ben if he could get them to Vamos and get out of here, and he said no. They're fine. They're not buying drinks like we are, so I don't know why he wants to keep them out there on the lawn.
We hold this place afloat on Tuesdays.
We really do. Speaking of, we are a beer podcast, all things considered, and we would not be a good beer podcast if we weren't drinking beers while recording this podcast. So, Marco, you have a very full glass of something delicious. What do you have right now?
I've got Rothaus Pils from the slow pour line.
Excellent. It is the best way to have a Pilsner, in my professional drinking opinion.
Right. Well, we have a podcast, so
that too
makes us professionals.
Absolutely, it does. I'm enjoying Maine Brewing Company's lunch. So we walked in, you and I both went, it's lunchtime.
That's right.
We had one. You finished yours and you're on to your Pilsner. I'm still enjoying mine because you have a slow pour and I am a slow drinker. So it all works out.
It does.
This beer's delicious. If anyone has any dinner out there, I have yet to come across some.
Really?
I would love.
I had some dinner.
Did you have some dinner? They're honking at the geese. They're crossing the road. Honking at honkers does nothing.
I had dinner here at BC's Bottle Lodge, Montgomery.
I'm so sad.
I believe it was.
I'm happy for you. I'm sad for me.
I believe it was 2019, I think is what it was. They had an event where they had a keg of dinner, and they were pre-selling.
Wow.
So
it's kind of on the same level as Utopia's almost, where they're kind of pre-allocating stuff. Ish. Okay. That's kind of the closest thing that I have to relate it to. So that's what I'm pulling from.
So last week, our 1-year podcast anniversary was live here at BC's Bottle Lodge, Montgomery, and you're like, well, podcasts are recorded live. Yeah, well, we hooked into the speakers here at BC's Bottle Lodge, Montgomery, and then everybody who was here got to listen to, and then some participated.
Whether they wanted to or not.
Yeah. And some got to participate in our live podcast event. And so thank you to BC's Bottle Lodge. Also, thank you to BLOX Spiked Ice for their sponsorship. And that was truly fantastic. And we are repping BLOX Spiked Ice today. Julia with her BLOX shirt and I with a BLOX hat on.
It's so awesome.
Yeah, and thank you to everybody who came out. Truly appreciate that support. Also, truly appreciate everybody who's listening for the first time. Thank you for coming aboard, and everybody who's been with us for all 52 and now 53 weeks. Truly appreciate your listenership. Tell your friends, tell your family. Tell strangers, smash the follow button, do all the things that you're supposed to do.
Do you want me to cover that part of it?
I do.
But yeah, in addition to that, you can follow us on social media. We are at Truth Beer Pod everywhere. If you have something longer form you'd like to share with us, our email address is truthbeerpod@gmail.com. All of our episodes are posted onto YouTube, so follow us out there. And if you would like to monetarily donate to us so that we can continue to buy amazing beers and try to figure out some better way for either video, better equipment, that type of thing, please send us some money at truthbeerpod.com. Just look for the big blue support us link.
And if you'd like to send us a handwritten letter, you can send it to BC's Bottle Lodge, attention Marco and Julia with Truth Beer Pod. All I'm going to say is that if you send actual paper money, we will make sure to read that communication, that actual letter,
yes,
that handwritten letter, on the podcast.
And speaking of reading things, if you have any complaints about the show, send those to @RagingHop on Twitter. He will compile all the complaints and let us know the best and the worst about what we're doing.
He's been good at that.
He's been very good at that. We definitely appreciate his efforts. All right, so this is a craft beer podcast about podcasts. So I need to ask you, Marco.
Yes.
Did you listen to any craft beer Cincinnati-based, let me clarify, Cincinnati-based craft beer podcasts
this
past week? Excellent.
Oh, yeah.
Let's run down the list and see what we're going to be covering today. We have the Craft Parenting Podcast.
Yes, of course.
Excellent. We have Brew Sky's Happy Hour.
Yes, I did.
Awesome. We have, hold up your glass, the Cincinnati Brewcast. Cheers.
Did.
We
Cheers,
drink whenever it is the Cincy Brewcast. For whatever reason, my brain decides Cincy isn't a real word, so I say Cincinnati more often than I should. So we drink when that happens. And shift beers.
Yeah. Oh,
Awesome.
Of course.
All right. Let's go ahead and start with the Craft Parenting Podcast.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
This one's nice. This is episode 69.
Hey now.
Nice. Or, well, I guess the button really doesn't work for this, but you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to push it anyway.
Shit.
That's a new.
Or how about the other? Oh, how about saying it? This is episode 69.
I love bananas.
Hey, I mean.
All right.
I mean.
How about that?
How about that one? If you know, you know.
That's right.
If you don't know, you should have been at our live show. All right, episode 69, celebrating Christmas in July and seasonal creep, which I will say, I had this conversation with producer Ben before we started recording.
Uh-huh.
Is it seasonal creep if you have your holiday decor up year-round?
No, it's just creepy.
It's just creepy?
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, one of the first things that they touched on in this podcast, they're changing the podcast. They're changing the name of it. They're changing the format of it. It is going to be the Craft Pupper Podcast.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So I'm excited. I love puppers.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm excited to see what they do with that one. But that was
there's an event locally where there were open adoptions, right?
Oh yeah. There are actually a lot of breweries that do have local. Like the rescue associations that they support, they'll have sometimes dogs available for adoption. They had 2 holiday beers, and really the holiday beers are Christmas beers because Christmas in July, even though we're recapping this in August.
Sure.
Close enough, it's fine. Westside Brewing just recently did their Christmas in July celebrations, so Joe and Caroline, excellent, were able to pick up Westside's Holiday Ale and Krampus Cole, so that's what they were drinking throughout the podcast. They tried to go over the origin of Christmas in July. It's apparently been around since 1892, which I think Joe was around that. Yeah. Because we know he is ancient. It was actually really interesting. The story that Caroline found on the Wikipedia.org is the Christmas in July, I don't want to call it a holiday, but whole concept came from a theater group who was trying to cast Joe himself as Tiny Tim in their production of A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Joe's schedule that first year was just couldn't happen. So they said, we need to start trying to recruit him early. So back in 1892, they went, hey, we're going to do Christmas in July. And in July, we're going to say, Joe, we need you to be Tiny Tim.
Right.
We need you in this production.
Right.
And Christmas in July was born.
It's like another, it's a reverse nickname for Joe. It's
it really
Tiny.
is.
Tiny Tim.
Tiny Tim, yeah.
Yeah.
Little known fact that if you listen to this episode of Craft Parenting Podcast, you will learn.
Correct.
It was a very cool part of the episode for sure. I did notice that this episode of Craft Parenting Podcast, their seasonal creep talk, did focus more on the crafting side of things. Caroline was super excited, or is super excited, when the fall and Christmas-based crafting items come out early in the year so that she has time to buy them and then have her crafting done by those specific holidays.
Yeah.
So I get it. It makes sense. But at the same time, when I'm seeing Santa Clauses in Target in like April, by the time December rolls around, I don't care anymore. Like Christmas just...
Well, they must be hot also in that costume, ringing that damn bell in the middle of June.
My God, ding, 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 ding. So a couple other things that I had for this episode. Again, not a huge recap for me just because a lot of it was about the crafts and not necessarily the beer side of things. They did cover Higher Gravity, the crafting parenting podcast, the Craft Pupper podcast, which has nothing to do with beer.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They're going to have to really think about rebranding themselves.
Well, they talked about the Beervent calendar you're about to talk about.
We did, yes. They did cover the Higher Gravity Beervent calendar, which we mentioned in our intro to this episode, why you should get one. They're getting one this year. And there was some argumenting. I don't know words anymore. There was a little bit of an argument about, Caroline gets day 1, Joe gets day 2, but that was from Joe. Caroline wanted to, you can do this one.
Caroline.
Very, very nice. She said, well, why don't we just share every day's beer? So there may be a little bit of contention when it's time to actually break into every day's beer selection for the Beervent calendar.
I could just see Caroline. Every day that Joe gets the beer, she pulls out like a giant can of Foster's. And it's like, what you got over there? And then she's like, what is that, 16 ounces? Got like a big 20 ounce or 24 ounce can of beer over here.
Oh, my God.
Hope you have fun with that over there.
Very nice.
Tiny Tim.
Joe's new nickname is Tiny Tim, in case you didn't know.
Yeah.
Yes, we've spoken it into existence. Or maybe they spoke it into his existence during their show. You're going to have to listen to find out. To kind of wrap up this recap, I wanted to ask you what you thought the perfect time of year is to start seeing specific seasonal beers on shelves, like for sale. Not because I understand the brewing process takes time and all that. Pumpkin beers. When would you prefer to start seeing them on shelves?
The day before Halloween.
Day before Halloween? Okay.
And then they're gone immediately when Halloween's over.
Okay, so for me, first week of October,
But you're a
somewhere
kind
in
person.
there. True. I do enjoy pumpkin beers. I don't want to drink them right now. I still like them through Thanksgiving because Thanksgiving, pumpkin pie, that kind of stuff. So for me, pumpkin beers, I don't mind seeing them on shelves from, again, like kind of that very last week in August through that last week of November.
I would have,
and that's it.
In a season, I might have 2 pumpkin beers, and it would be on Halloween and Thanksgiving, and that'd be it.
And that's fair. That's
I'm
fine.
good.
Yeah, not
I'm good.
Yeah, that's fine.
And if I didn't have them, my life's still complete.
Still fine. So Sean White from Nostalgia Brewing, awesome guy. He and I had a tiny little mini conversation, and I forget what craft beer group thread it was in. We both still have. I have a single can. I think he said he has like 2 cans of the original pumpkin spice Vive from Braxton. Mine has been in the back of the refrigerator since I got it. His has not. So
get him on the pod.
I know. We may need to figure out a way to do like a sampling. Did it hold up after what was 2-3 years? I don't even know how long it is.
Sean, buddy. Hey.
So Sean, if you're around on Tuesday evenings, available for just a 5-10 minute phone call or something.
Yeah.
let's figure out
Or let's
sometime
pick a
in
date.
October,
Let's
or
have him
pick a
come
date.
down with,
Either
with,
come down or
with the pumpkin vibe.
Yeah, and if Nostalgia has any pumpkin beer, or any other beer like that Dark Winged Duck vanilla porter, that's really good. Yeah, we'll just drink that. Just throwing that out there, speaking it into existence, as we
Maybe
like
in
to say.
September.
Maybe in September. Oktoberfest beers. When would you like to see them start showing up on shelves?
Okay, so
I know.
So
yeah. No wrong answer. It's again
No,
conversation, curiosity.
So the Gnome doesn't drink an Oktoberfest beer until August 1st.
Fair.
And I think that is fine timing.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, to get a beer out for October 1st, you probably need to get it out the week before October. Not October 1st, August 1st. I misspoke.
Right.
August. And he's yelling and yelling and yelling until I correct that. August 1st. Okay.
He is screaming at his phone the way that I scream at mine when Shift Beers doesn't remember like some random trivia fact. Yes.
Right. About Tango and Cash or something. August 1st seems good. That's fine because you need a lead up, and then we drink Oktoberfest all through the season, which is there are Oktoberfests all the way through September, leading into the middle of October. Whatever's left over. If you have them after the middle of October, or you have a few leading into November, totally fine. They definitely should be, from a package standpoint, they should be turned and off the shelf. If they're still out mid-October, you're doing it wrong.
I don't know. See, I disagree with you slightly on that. To me, I'm cool with seeing them on the shelves.
I mean,
yeah.
You can have them and then drink them.
Sure.
But them being out on the shelves is squeezing out something else.
I see what you're saying.
Like, I'm going to drink them all the way till I'm fine drinking them all the way till Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I kind of had this similar thought as far as I'm fine with seeing them end of July, beginning of August, kind of like what you said, because when you have the difference between like the Fest beers, the Märtzens, if it's 95 degrees outside, you can go for that lighter, Fest beer and still have it feel like a more summer-ish beer, and then as it starts to cool down, you get that heavier kind of the Märzen styles of that. And then I'm kind of like pumpkin beers. I'm cool with having them around. Again, packaging date, we're just going to pretend that that's not factoring in.
It doesn't.
I'm cool with being able to get them until like the end of November, mid-November, end of November, when it gets cold enough to where I'm starting to move into the actual dark beers.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And those don't really necessarily have the same sort of problems with the profile falling off here or there, those sort of things that other styles of beer do. So
True.
they're usually
They're
pretty
a little
consistent.
better. Yeah, agreed. And then Christmas beers.
Yeah.
So things that are, the holiday ales, the spiced ales, that type of thing. For me, I kind of don't want to see those hitting the shelves until like mid-November. Beginning of November, mid-November, because, again, it's mostly because of all the retail stuff, shoving Christmas down our throats starting in, April, May. I'm over it by the time December rolls around. But when it comes to that distinct style of, or seasonal beer, however you want to say it, mid to late November, cool. I'm perfectly fine with seeing it on the shelves. But by mid-January, just say, to give it some time for those winter spiced whatevers, then I'm done. The geese have crossed the road, going away from us, but now they're starting to come back. So I'm just letting you know.
They heard what you said about them.
Oh, damn. They do have good hearing, I've heard. This was a fun episode of Craft Parenting Podcast. Again, it wasn't super beer focused, but they did touch enough on seasonal beer, seasonal creep. You have more cars slowing down for the geese trying to cross the road because they're migratory, so you're not allowed to just run them down. Right. And they talked about the higher gravity Beervent calendar, so it definitely tied into what we do as far as craft beer recaps. So definitely check them out, and they do some really fun episodes. Let's go to the Brew Skies Happy Hour.
Awesome.
Episode 9, with the Maltose Falcons, legalizing home brewing, and the craft beer revolution.
Not to be confused with the Atlanta Falcons, who were up 28-3 in the Super Bowl at halftime. versus the New England Patriots and lost.
That will never die. Never, never die. Also, not the same thing as the Maltese Falcon.
Correct.
Yes, so be very careful when you say, I love the name. I absolutely love the name of this homebrewing club. They had Drew Beecham, who is, I love this title, the Grand Hydrometer of the Maltose Falcons, which is the oldest homebrew club in the United States.
Yep.
Another absolutely amazing heavy hitter in the craft beer world on their show. Basically, he's the historian. There are some new words in the Brew Skies vernacular that we got from this episode.
Yes, there are.
There were.
I guess apparently their producer is a creator of words.
Yes, and it's fantastic. So, you know what, Marco? Let's get the spleef on with this recap.
Yes.
Drew's written more books than Michael D. Morgan. That's the first thing that I learned in this episode.
Just a couple of authors cutting it up.
I'm telling you.
And could their voices have been any more similar?
No.
I mean,
we're bouncing back and forth going, wait a second, who's talking? I don't know.
I listened to the first 20 minutes twice because I thought Michael was saying something like he was in the club. And it's like, Michael's not in the club. No, hold on. And I rewound it because I was like, God damn it, your guys' voices sound exactly the same.
They're not the same.
No.
Which that would be really, I'll tell you what, if Michael had any, like a split personality or hair, which we'll touch on later in this. I would touch on later. I had notes on that.
Oh, you
by
do?
the way,
Okay.
I do have notes on that. So in the early 70s, I mean, they were basically all hooligans breaking the law by homebrewing.
Yes.
Which is touched on multiple Brew Skies episodes with the people that they talked to.
Yes.
So that's not necessarily a new concept.
No.
But you got to hear this from the perspective of someone that stayed a homebrewer, that never really
Right.
did or kind of wanted to make that leap into being a brewery owner, a
Right.
brewery,
And
a professional brewer.
To go professional, to hit the major leagues. And just a baseball reference, I mean, they do make a baseball reference to the homebrew club, the Maltese Falcons, as being essentially a AAA farm club for the major league in craft beer, craft brewing. But back then, and they talk about some of the people that were in the club that moved on to start. I mean,
big ass
breweries, like iconic projects from that homebrew club.
Yeah.
And he is happy in his space as a home brewer.
Sure.
And, somebody needs to do it. There's so much knowledge and not just knowledge, but they were celebrating certain fields like that would come in and become part of the homebrew club because they could prop up the homebrew club and
like
make
winemakers.
Yeah,
was the big one. One of the things that I've written down is that they said in this episode. So these are not my words. It's Drew's words.
So not your words, other people's words.
Other people's words. My impression falls way short of yours. But brewing beer deserves as much respect as makers of wine. And something that they kind of alluded to as they continued that train of thought is that eventually, now that brewers and home brewers have that respect, seltzer makers are going to get that respect next. It's just the natural progression of how the drinking community and how the drinking landscape is changing over time. And I thought that was a really cool touch that they put into this because not a lot of their episodes mention seltzers. This
That's right.
one may or may not have.
Yeah.
They did say a really cool thing, or I say they. This was more Drew, but Brett and Mike kind of concurred on this. American Lager is probably the original American craft beer, or the original craft beer, if you think about it.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. I think that's an incredibly fair statement, but I don't know if I would have necessarily come up with that conclusion on my own prior to listening to this episode. Something else that Drew said, if prohibition happened again, IPAs would be the beer that would survive, which is an incredible topic talking point.
That is a quote. That is a talking point.
Yes.
And I get where he's coming from. It's the most entered category in the all of the beer judging competitions. It's widely the biggest thing that anybody tries to associate their beer style with to try and get it to move. However, the number one selling beer across the world is lager, and more specifically Pilsner. And I don't think I get where he's coming from.
Right.
But I don't know if that necessarily be the case.
And to kind of piggyback onto that, I'm like, I can absolutely see that being the case, but at the same time, if that happened and that was put into, I say production, if that was put into practice and not just as a theory, IPAs don't last as long as like lagers and pilsners do once they're packaged. I mean, the flavors fall off, the hop quality falls off. So I don't know if, let's just say another prohibition happened and people said we need to make a beer that we can kind of hold on to for a bit if we need to try to take months to ship it from point A to point B or to get it to places. IPAs aren't really going to hold up as well as the original craft beer like an American lager.
No.
There we go. But still a really cool conversation. And I don't want to ruin the entire episode for people because
if
we've said this a million times.
We would ruin it for
This is very true. And as we've said a million times, Brewcast Happy Hour is, I think, probably one of both of our favorite podcasts to listen to as a whole. So we definitely want you to check out this episode. Find out more about how the sneaker industry is partially to blame for beer hype.
Correct.
In a way.
Yes.
To close the recap, because Marco, you need another beer. I actually need another beer.
Here we go. Hell yeah.
Amazing episode. This entire podcast, every single episode is beyond phenomenal. There is so much entertainment, education. It's everything you could want in a craft beer podcast. And I am so thrilled that it is based out of Cincinnati we can talk about it.
And also a child in the background.
Yeah. What's better? What can be better?
I love it.
It's fantastic.
They're Truth Beer pods where my son's in the background, and people just wonder, who's hooting and hollering in the background, and it's my son. So I love all of it. Honestly, Julia, when I listen, I just wish I was at the bar with Brett and Mike on a Friday, involved in these conversations.
I'm sure one of these days it will happen.
I hope so.
We have had incredible things happen for the two of us that feel like they have stemmed from this podcast. So I am sure that it will happen. My closing note on this podcast: don't trust bald people or short people.
Okay, so when
you need to listen to this
Julie
episode.
And I,
we don't trust us because we are both bald and short. We're actually only one of those things, but if you haven't met us in person, you don't know which.
Yeah, you don't know.
You do not know. All right, let's go ahead and get some refills on our burrs, and we will be back to cover Cincy Brewcast and Shift Beers. All right, guys, we made it back from a beer break. We both have new beers in our glass. Well, I say new beers. It's the same beer, 2 glasses, one for Marco, one for myself. I still love my Mug Club mug so much. We're both enjoying Westside Brewing's Oktoberfest because it is 100% Oktoberfest season, and I love this beer so damn much, and I'm so glad that it is on tap. Marco is finishing up a text back to his wife, so I will start us off by saying we are now going to recap Cincy Brewcast, where the Gnome gets to know and introduces all of us to Moeller Brew Barn, which I have been aware of. I know the name, I know the brand, but that's about it. I'm very sad to say that I have not yet purchased any of their beer.
I haven't either.
I have seen it, but I'm very excited to experience it when they open up the tap room up in Monroe.
Yeah, and if I see it around, I'll try and grab some.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Gnome actually went way, way, way out of the Cincinnati area to talk with Nick Moeller, who, if you couldn't tell by his last name, is one of the founders.
No way.
Of Moeller Brew. I know.
Get out of here.
It's not even just like a random occurrence, like a complete chance happening.
Holy shit.
The place is named after him. It's amazing. And it's not really in a barn. What are my first notes? They first opened back in 2015, so they have been around for quite a while. Their main flagship location is in Maria Stein, Ohio, which is northwest-ish of us. I'm drawing a line.
So as a crow flies, how long
the-
does it take to get there?
Maybe an hour and a half. It's one of those. It's past Dayton, but it's not quite like going as far as. Although I guess it depends on what route you take. If you avoid all highways, it's probably a 3-hour drive. Sometimes
That's
your
an inside joke there.
Sometimes your GPS
Shout out to my wife, Rachel.
gets misset or gets reset to avoid all highways, in which case going up to the original Moeller Brew Barn location would take much longer than if you just stay on the highways.
Okay.
Let's see, Moeller Brew Barn, and again, this is kind of their main location in Maria Stein.
Yeah.
Has
no connection with Moeller High School.
Correct. They have no front or back door. They are one and the same. Because there was a conversation about their front doors and their back doors.
That's right.
Got a little awkward, but
Yeah.
Gnome persevered. He got through it. It was very professional of him. Definitely appreciate that. As sideways as the conversation tried to go, he
My
kept
good
it
friend
very
growing up,
reined
my
in.
best friend Billy, he had a VHS, and it was it said backdoor
Oh,
on it.
there's a joke in here, and I'm not gonna make it. I am 100%.
You don't need to, because
gonna
that's
make
what it was about. But anyways, going to the back in the country, the back door.
There you go. All right. There was a really cool discussion that this episode started off with about the decision that Nick made to open the brewery in Maria Stein as opposed to one of the closer cities, such as like Salina or one of the other, and they're all kind of smaller cities out there. But it was really cool how they decided that we're living in Maria Stein, so we're not going to go outside of those city limits, which the city has, one traffic light in it in Maria Stein?
Right.
It sounded like.
But it also
The community needed a brewery.
It also almost in a way tied into Brewcast, because they're a family that moved from like Los Angeles, and then
Right into
so they were in the heart of all the glitz and glamour and everything that was going on, and then they moved to a suburb of I don't even know where.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if that's considered that. I don't even think that's considered a
Ohio,
suburb of
a suburb
a suburb
anywhere?
of Ohio. Yeah. Anywhere
like
down Ohio.
Okay, if it's not a suburb of a major city, then what does it become?
I don't know. It's definitely not a suburb of Cincinnati.
Is it
like
in the
Dayton and the
sticks?
other areas.
It's just in the sticks.
I want to go though. I want to go to their main location.
I want to go. I'm excited for whenever you pick me up to take me there.
All right, we'll schedule it. One of the other things that actually also ties back into Brewcast Happy Hour, how we talked about Drew not moving from that home brewer stance to like the entrepreneur, business owner aspect of being a brewer.
Right.
Nick kind of had the same idea. He said that in this interview, he always wanted to be more of like that fixer of things and not necessarily a business owner, an entrepreneur, someone that started a business, let alone a brewery. But the demand was there and he did make that jump. So I thought that was
Right.
a really, really cool conversation that Gnome had with him that unintentionally tied in a little bit. I mean, again, we're kind of drawing some thin threads between the two podcasts,
Right.
between Brewcast and Cincy Brewcast.
Or blurred lines.
Moeller Brew Barn has 2 current locations that are open. They have the one in Maria Stein, which is their flagship, and then they also have one that's in an old church in Troy, Ohio, which sounds absolutely amazing. Love breweries and churches. There's a local one here in Cincinnati that's in a church that what's that one? They make really good, really they don't make beers.
No.
They do not make beer there.
No.
But if any of you,
another tie back to Brewcast.
absolutely, if any of you guys can remember the brewery that we're talking about, that's Cincinnati based in a former church that they don't make beer, let us know. There are 3 more Moeller Brew Barn locations that are in the works. That are 2 of them opening fairly soon, 1 opening a little later. The one that's the most important to kind of, I don't want to say the most important, the one that's the most relevant to us here in Cincinnati. Closest, yes, excellent word. Thank you so much. Is the one that's going to be in Monroe. That's supposed to be opening in around Labor Day of this year. So just a month and a half-ish, 2 months. My God, it's already that close to Labor Day.
Wow.
That's crazy. They're going to have another location in the Dayton area that is also supposed to open up around the same time frame. Again, supply chain, construction, all that. These are very loose dates, but
sure.
Dayton and Monroe are both due to open by the end of the summer, or plan to open by the end of the summer. And then in 2023, they are planning on opening another location in Plain City, Ohio. So they're going to be all over the place.
Yeah,
it's going to be great.
This is a big network, a big conglomerate of, not conglomerate, but just
I know what you mean.
A big network of.
It's a network,
of breweries.
Right. I would think conglomerate would be if their brand covered different brands. Yeah. If Moeller Brew Barn was like an umbrella company for like mini breweries with like different names, that kind of stuff, which as far as I'm aware, they're all going to be called, or they're all going to be branded Moeller Brew Barn. Right. Just different locations.
Sure. And that
same as
is,
like Braxton, yeah.
That
is local.
Yeah. And that's really, you get the genesis of that move forward and expand from what they did prior to actually creating Moeller Brew Barn. I said Brew Barn, like as if it was they had haunted houses. Maybe they will. Oh,
that would be
shit.
Cool. Oh, hold on, I got a button for which. Okay, so pick
the
A or
newest
B.
one.
The newest one.
Shit.
There we go. Got that new button
haunted
in
houses.
the rotation.
Oh,
a haunted brewery. Can you imagine how cool that would be?
That'd be fucking cool.
Let's do it. So Moeller Brew Barn, because you're opening near the end of, well, literally the end of summer, the beginning of fall.
Yeah.
You're entering spooky season.
And of course you listen.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
Drew
of course
he's been a fan for years.
He's going to be on the pod.
Years. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
At some point.
They had a really cool discussion about, like, speaking of brands and branding, what is Moeller Brew Barn? It is more than just, and I'm not going to say it, the rooster logo. Mark is smiling at me. He knows where we could have gone with that. But it's cool listening to the discussion about what do you want your brand to be, to represent? Do you want each of your locations to have its very own personality, or do you want to have, no matter what location you go to, the same feel, the same personality in all locations, but with that regional flavor to it, such as Dayton is going to feel a little bit different than Monroe, but you still know, regardless of which one you go to, you're at a Moeller Brew Barn. And those are always fun conversations for me when the Gnome has those with new breweries that are either opening or current breweries opening new locations in new areas around the city. I always absolutely love that. And I love that Gnome pointed out that Dayton is the biggest suburb of Cincinnati. Because as we all know, it is not its own place. It is part of us.
Right.
One of us.
It is.
Yes.
It is. It's tangential.
This is very, very true. I only had a couple other notes on this recap because, again, we don't want to tell you everything. We want you to listen to this episode because it was such a great conversation with Nick all about Moeller Brew Barn. I was excited to hear that they were moving into the space that they're moving into.
Yeah.
But after listening to this episode, I am even more excited. I am actively looking for that rooster logo on cans.
Sure.
Everywhere, going, I need to get some of this.
Yeah.
I want to try it even before I can get it on draft, once the Monroe tap room opens up, it's going to be phenomenal. So the last 2 notes that I had on this, before I turn it over to any last recap notes you had.
Sure.
One of the biggest life lessons that they talked about is don't let your cats or kids sunbathe in the street, which which led to a beer name. So I mean, it was definitely a interesting point there, and it all starts with the floor. That's all I got.
That's it.
That's
okay.
it.
And I want all of our listeners to go and listen so that they can understand and relate as well.
For sure. What else did you have for this episode of, and we're going to drink, the Cincinnati Brewcast?
Here we go.
Cheers.
So you drink, then I'll drink.
Avoid those unnecessary, awkward silences. Good idea. Marco is full of good ideas. He is why this show is as amazing as it is.
So no, I'll leave it be and let all the listeners take in what we gave them for what it's worth, and then go and listen to and support everything Cincy Brewcast, the Gnarly Gnome.
Absolutely.
Get over there, and he's got tons of content out there. Taking the content, follow, support.
Yes.
Send your Patreon dollars and
thegnarlygnome.com/support. If you love what he's doing, if you even just like what he's doing. It's amazing the amount of exposure he gives to Cincinnati craft beer. We would not be here if it wasn't for him, so we wouldn't.
And I want him to stop saying that that's not
enough.
true. I want him to stop saying that's not true, because we wouldn't. And so, but anyways.
That's our truth.
Yeah, that's our truth. And so, we will, let's take a pause, and then we'll do the final show.
Final show. All right. We'll be right back with you guys. All right, guys. Once again, we have returned from a beer break, and we have new beers in our glasses. Marco picked these out himself, and he is so excited. His arms are in the air, outstretched.
That's right.
He is so freaking excited because this is the perfect beer to drink while we recap shift beer. So,
That's
Marco,
right.
what did you get for both of us?
We have High Life with a strawberry BLOX.
Speaking of blocks, last night, my Josh decided to put a lime BLOX in one of Rheingeist's lemonades.
Ooh.
And he said it was delicious. Like he loves lemonade as is, but he said putting that lime BLOX in it just took it up that next level.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm going to do that tonight because we've had beers and I still have a decent drive home. And normally once I get home from recording, I eat crappy food like Skyline or Taco Bell, and then I go right to bed.
Yeah.
But if nothing else, tomorrow I have one lemonade left in the fridge before I have to buy more.
Okay.
I am putting a lime BLOX in it.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
And I heard Rheingeist is doing that on their rooftop.
Excellent.
Yeah, they're adding blocks to the RG Bevs.
They should be. RG Bevs are fantastic in and of themselves. Zango Crush is my favorite.
Even the tea. You could put them in the tea.
Blazing the Trail from producer Ben, a 3-way and a BLOX. What flavor BLOX though? What flavor What flavor BLOX would pair best when you're eating a 3-way?
Are you doing Skyline tonight?
I don't know. I have to check with Josh. A lemon and lime. Okay. All right.
Hell yeah.
All right. I will say for the first time over this weekend, I did have a BLOX by itself, not put into anything.
Oh yeah, you just went
kid
at lunch.
It was
like instead of a pudding cup, you had an icy cup.
It was actually while I was editing the live show episode. Yeah. I did a pineapple BLOX, and my God, those things are so good by them. And okay, I want to say right off the bat, this is not a sponsored episode by them. Like I legitimately,
they did not pay for this promotion.
Right, I legitimately love what they make, and I can rinse that off. You take up as much of the paper as you can. Okay, I love what they're doing. I love the product, and until this past week, I was always putting BLOX into other beverages, which is delicious. And for whatever reason, I never had one just by itself. There is so much freaking flavor in those things. It's ridiculous. So huge shout out to them.
I told producer Ben, I said, honestly, if you had a soda gun where you could just do tonic or soda water, you'd sell a lot more BLOX.
Absolutely.
Because
they are 7 to 7.5%.
Sure.
I mean, if you even, depending on your tolerance, you could have just one or two and be having a real good time.
Yeah, but there's no reason why
But-
somebody couldn't drop a line BLOX into a cup
With some tonic water.
tonic water
and basically have a
some-
boozy Sprite. Yeah,
Correct.
like a lemon and lime one. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the potential is there. Although BC's did, announce that they're moving to being a brewery instead
Sure.
of just a bottle shop. So I don't know if
No,
that
they're
will
gonna have
fit
BLOX.
into.
They'll have BLOX.
They better have BLOX.
Yeah.
But that could be kind of a air quote cocktail option for
Sure.
them.
Sure.
The recipe books that BLOX have.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. So this, I apologize. You said this was a high life with the BLOX. Freaking delicious
Yeah.
with the strawberry. I love the flavor combination. Shift beers to get back on track.
Shift beers.
Episode 91, Christmas in August, which we actually, let's see what someone else thinks about this.
I love bananas.
Who doesn't?
Correct.
Who doesn't love bananas? And that is probably one of the best sound clips that I was able to get from the live show. Everything else was just meh.
Right.
That was spectacular. So this episode 91 of Shift Beers, Christmas in August, deal with it.
Sure.
They were doing a Secret Santa, and they forgot to draw names and get stuff shipped in July, because normally it's Christmas in July.
Right.
They're doing it in August, and most of the episode was, okay, I say most of the episode was about the Secret Santa gift exchange,
Well,
but I
actually-
need to clarify. Yes, I think you were going to say.
Go ahead. Go
You
ahead.
sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go,
I don't
you
want to
do
take
it.
your thunder.
No, you do it.
Most of the episode, as usual, was drinking. Drinking.
Correct.
With a G on the end. Chris,
But it was
deal
also-
with it.
How much everybody except for
God.
Beth was drinking with the gnome.
That's so funny. So Marco and I don't go over like my written notes before we do these. I have something written for every single person's drinking. Oh my God, I did it. We need to drink whenever I do that.
Drinking.
Cheers, plastic cups. It's not going to sound the same. You're not going to hear the cheers. We need to get glasses for the end of the episode so you can hear us cheers.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe. We'll see.
But I have that the episode was 53-ish minutes long, 53 and some change. Drinkin', no G. The G is silent on that one. 28 of those 53 minutes.
Hell yeah.
Drinkin' was more than half of the episode, but as you said, it talked mostly about how everyone's going to die early except for Beth. Beth is going to live longer than anyone else on this podcast.
Because she doesn't go drinking with the gnome.
Or just or with friends or in their backyard.
Right.
So let's get this episode started off. They, again, drinking. What have you had in the past week since the last time that they recorded an episode?
Sure.
Brian, he got pitted and played lawn darts. No one died, but they all came close.
Sure.
There was a part about hot dogs that I don't think it should be recapped in any way, shape, or form. But if
No.
that piques your curiosity, listen to the episode. Ooh, do that again.
No.
I had spoken over you the last time, and that needed to be
No.
by itself.
You should listen to that recap, but yes, no one should repeat that recap.
No, definitely not.
Not in voice form or in actuality.
Chris, he went to Wrestling with the Gnome, which you and I still need to do. We still need to make it out to something.
I need to make it out.
It is so much fun. So they went out to the Northern Wrestling Federation. They were doing a show out at Swine City. If I wasn't if I wasn't at Taft's that night,
Okay.
celebrating an out of country
Hell yeah.
cousin's birthday, and then watching FC with a game they should have won.
Celebrate good times.
Oh my God.
Come
it
on.
was a good time. I would have loved to have been out there. They somehow ended up in the ring, and now both of their wives are not speaking to them. So it sounds like they had a really fucking good time.
It's a great time.
There
Great
was
time.
I don't know what happened between them and the Swinger, which, if you're not following Northern Wrestling
now.
Federation, he may be one of the best wrestlers that they have, even though his walk-on music is not New Kids on the Block. This is not part of their episode, but just part of knowing about Northern Wrestling Federation. Yes, somehow they ended up in the ring with the Swinger, and Yeah, their wives were not happy. So hopefully they get all that sorted out because we don't want the Gnome or Chris to be murdered by their wives.
Yeah. There's a little color me bad, a little I wanna sex you up
Oh my God, I haven't heard that in so freaking long.
all night.
Oh my God. I'm going to need to queue up
TikTok
like
to the
hip hop to the Jesus. I'm going to need to queue up some
Color Me Bad.
terrible music for my drive home tonight. Let's see what else was there. So we got Brian, we got Chris, we have Beth, who is going to live forever and at least outlive everyone else on Shift Beers.
Well, Beth played some D&D.
She played some D&D.
Played some D&D. She is a real life Game of Thrones like vixen, something or another.
Josh, in part of his drinking, talked about how he made some new friends at the Truth Beer Pod live show. If you
Yeah.
weren't here, you missed a really good time.
It's a good
always
time.
so much fun. Again, thank you to Chris and Josh who were able to show up. And I know that Brian and Beth had their own things going on. So we love you guys. Maybe you guys can make the next live show that we do. And
Yeah.
but I mean, if not, we know
Julia,
that they. Yeah.
next live show that we do?
I feel like it's going to be soon, but I'm not.
Okay.
I want to
Yeah.
give
Okay.
it a bit because it may not be at BC's.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah. So a little bit of a teaser there
Okay.
for everyone.
All right.
Keep an eye on our social media and listen to our podcast. But yeah, Josh made some new friends during the Truth Beer Pod live show, and they had an after party. I am so glad that they had such a good time
For sure.
after our show.
And I felt
Really appreciate it.
that an after party was imminent, and I said, I said to myself, hit the eject button now. Go home
Like,
now.
go home. Yes. So luckily I had my Josh here at the live show to kind of be like, hey, we need to get home. You wake up at 5 a.m. to go to work. But it sounds like Josh had a great time.
So they went to the dive bar right across the street. By the way,
It wasn't even across the street. It's like across the
pro
parking
tip
lot.
for all of you Truth Beer Pod listeners, when you come out to BC's Bottle Lodge, Montgomery, you can actually go to a bar. And you can walk there. It's in almost the same parking lot. Let's go.
Let's do it. After this,
Let's just go.
Fuck yeah, I'm in.
Let's go.
I'm in.
We'll put all the stuff in the vehicles.
Yes.
We'll go over there. We'll have a beer. And
What did they call the shots that they got?
Oh, I ain't doing that. I don't know what they.
Because we
they
are
coulda-
still responsible.
They could have called them responsibility shots. I ain't doing
We're
them.
not doing it.
No.
It sounded like everyone had a fun ass time in the past week of drinking.
Very happy that we
How-
could be part of it.
Yes, absolutely. And we are so thankful for Josh and Chris making the effort to be there. Chris brought his kids. I mean, his wife was like,
come
you
on
need to
now.
watch the kids. And he still
That's
said, this is important enough that I want to show up. So
Yes.
And this is no shade to Brian and Beth because,
No.
again, real life and what you guys need to do takes priority over to
For sure.
A podcast. So this is definitely not anything towards them in any way, shape, or form, but we definitely appreciate Chris and Josh coming here, showing up here. After the 28-minute drinking segment
Hell
that
yeah.
took up more than half of the 53-minute episode, there were more demon noises in this episode.
Oh,
That, good God.
Yeah.
Someone needs to see a doctor. I don't know. Some of the noises made by some of the people during this episode and previous episodes of Shift Beers, they concern me. And I want everyone from the Shift Beers team to last forever, like vampires. And
well, Beth will, but
Beth will for sure. But everyone else, we worry about you.
Yeah.
At least Chris is able to do 12-ounce curls to extend his life a little
True.
bit longer.
True.
Yes.
From the gift.
From the gift, yes.
Christmas and August, deal with it.
Yeah, so to end the drinking recap, Josh gave us a Twisted Tea tip.
He did.
He did, and it was a good one because it kind of tied into our live show.
Yep.
But I'm not going to tell it to you guys. I'm not going to let you know what it is.
No.
I want you to listen. I want you to experience that part of Shift Beers on your own. So a lot of the remainder of the show was their Secret Santa gift exchange, which was so much fun. I love that they did
fun.
that. That was freaking awesome.
A great idea, good show concept, great execution, and we're not going to spoil it for you.
No,
However, there was some social media posts.
Yes, they did put pictures of the gifts out on the Shift Beer social media, but if you want context to those pictures, you need to listen to this episode. Because hearing the reactions as they were opening these gifts, or in one case, as they were looking at a screenshot on someone else's phone of the gift.
Or in another case, when they were reading the card that came with the gift.
Oh my God, I have a note about that specifically. Brian cried, like openly wept on the podcast, reading the card that came with his Secret Santa
He doesn't get emotional that often.
No,
but
he really doesn't.
If you listen to the pod, you get that he's his feelings are very broad, and his real his soul is very understanding, from a broad perspective. And so when that card came, he really,
when he read it live, I say live, but when he read it. And
in the moment
as the podcast was recorded.
As it was happening.
It was, I got
touching,
a little
moved.
I didn't cry, but my eyes may have gotten a little, who's cutting onions in here.
Correct.
Because it was beautiful.
Well, I was the same way.
Yes.
I was exactly the same way.
Let's see, what else was there in this episode?
It was either the card or Chris's ass crack was too
God.
close to his face.
I'm telling you. Why not both?
Oh.
Why not both?
Hey now.
Things may have happened during this episode of Shift Beers. Listen to find out. I think they're going to put some of it out on their Patreon. So if you're not a Patreon subscriber, why the hell not?
Yeah.
Do it. And call their drunk line.
Yes.
While you are drunk, because we have only had like 1.5 drunk line voicemails played by them so far.
Yes. Played.
We need more. So please, please, please responsibly get drunk. That's kind of an oxymoron, but get drunk in the comfort of your own home to where you're not trying to get from point A to, or Uber, Lyft,
or a dive
whatever.
bar.
Or a dive,
and call in and then Uber home.
Because
call the drunk line from the Uber.
Yeah, I need more of that content. And so I don't have the number written down. I wasn't going to shout it out again, but I think because I mentioned it, don't do it. Listen to the episode. Get their drunk line number.
Yeah, listen to the episode.
Put it into your phone. Try not to save it with the same general description as the Gnome's drunk line number, because then you may get them confused, and that'll just be awkward.
So there are, and we should mention
lines.
There are two drunk lines. One's for Cincy Brewcast, and one is for Shift Beers. Both you should have.
Both are called the drunk line, but yes, sorry, Marco.
You should store them as contacts in your phone. When you get to the point where you have just brilliant ideas or things that are happening, and you want to text somebody or call somebody.
Yeah.
You can't text the drunk line, but call the drunk line and give them those nuggets of genius.
Absolutely.
And the thing is that if you're not calling with those nuggets of genius, they're going nowhere, and they need to go somewhere. So please send them to the drunk line. Agreed.
I only had 2 other notes on Shift Beers before we talk.
I only had one.
Okay, what's yours?
Yeah. No. Maybe it's one of your 2, so go ahead.
Okay, so the first one that I had is, in this episode, you can hear a story about some dudes being guys, which sounds awkward, but it ties in perfectly to a beer that one of them brought. So listen to a story about dudes being guys. And the last note that I had before our burp count, which if you've listened to our show, you know what the burp count is. We're not going to tell you anymore. We're just going to give you numbers. But prior to that, is Brian trying to throw up while they're recording Shift Beers? Because I feel like he is almost making an effort to make more happen than just a burp. It feels intentional almost.
Well, I think from a performance standpoint, a lot of performers understand that they need to take it all the way to the edge.
Okay.
You know,
I get
all
it.
the way to where, you know, it might happen, but it doesn't. And they need to feel that. They need to feel that rush of going all the way to almost too much.
And I guess in that context, Brian is checking that box. He is hitting that mark because it is making me so uncomfortable listening to him push for those numbers that we are going to give in just a minute. To push for that performance, to try to give the audience 100% of himself. But I don't want to hear him vomit. I mean,
but he's being true to himself and true to the craft, Julia. I mean, this is the
you're
thing.
right.
I
You're
mean,
right. 100%.
That's their thing, and I can appreciate it. You know, it's very much like somebody, you know, standing back and looking at the Mona Lisa.
And saying this is actually the size of a postage stamp when I thought it was going to be a 11 by 14 work of art.
Yeah, I mean...
slight exaggeration there, but,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was your last talking point before we give the burp count to Shift Beers?
No, you covered it.
Okay, so I hit on your last point as well? Because you said, okay, awesome.
No, you did. You did an excellent job.
I love...
the more and more we do this, the more and more...
we're aligned.
You understand, like, what I pick out and what I'm thinking.
Hell yeah. We're getting good at this after a year.
Well, that's for the audience to decide.
Maybe.
But, yeah.
All right, so the last thing that we have that we always do for our Shift Beers recap is the burp count, which, if you've been with us for a while, you know exactly what that is. If you haven't, we're saving some time. Listen to previous episodes if you want to know exactly what these numbers mean, and maybe we'll revisit how we explain this. But, Marco, did you have any final words about episode 91, Christmas in August? Fucking deal with it. The episode of Shift Beers before I give the burp count.
No, just good on you. Brilliant. Good shout on doing a Christmas episode when, you know, this is the, you know, Christmas in almost July trendy thing.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. And it was fun.
It was...
Yeah, it was just fun. It was just fun. So good. When you do a podcast every single week, as we know, it's sometimes not for us because we rely on everybody else's content. But for you that are trying to create your own content, I can imagine like that it would be really tough to try and decide what you're going to do every week. For us, not so much, and that's by design.
Let's get on to the burp count before this episode gets too damn long.
Okay.
In episode 91. 91 of Shift Beers. Christmas in July, just deal with it. Only 37 burps. But again, most of them weren't feeling 100%. They weren't drinking a ton during this show. So it's fine.
Were you using the clicker?
I was using the clicker.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you find that easier?
Well, so typically I listen to Shift Beers while I'm at work. So I was worried about the noise, but no one kind of like that someone from walking past my office would hear like the little clicks. No one did, so I think it's okay.
Okay.
Huge shout out to the Gnome and to Shift Beers for the gifts of clicker counters for us.
For real.
There may have been a little fisticuffs during the live show about the clicker
that was very nice,
gifts,
though.
but my God,
very nice.
The thought that went into those gifts, we cannot begin to thank you guys enough for it. So
yeah, and
thank you is all I can say.
As we're getting into the burp count and all that other stuff, I mean, I'm going to ancillary say thank you to all the podcasts because we all do this. We all support each other in, you know, big ways, little ways, and so this is just another example of, one show one pod listening to a pod, supporting a pod, doing something small to
Getting
help
some
them.
of the inside jokes within the pod and progressing.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
So thank you.
There was a comment in Shift Beers, I don't remember which episode, but about me specifically using a clicker, one of those handheld clickers, to count the number of burps in their show.
Yeah.
And all I'm going to say is now Marco and I both have a clicker.
We do.
To count the burps, which is beyond phenomenal. It warmed my heart so incredibly much that people even thought of that for us. I love it so much. So episode 90,
How many burps did we have?
So 37 burps, which equates to 74 ounces of whatever beverage, hopefully water, in, again, 3/4 of their cases.
Okay.
Which would translate to 4.625 pints of beer, water, hopefully not liquor, but whatever long drink. That is all that I have for Shift Beers. Actually, I have a note in my in the sidelines that I'm going to throw out there.
The sidelines, the margins.
We said that we were not going to talk about the Secret Santa gifts because we want you guys to listen to their episode to find out about that. But this is a note specifically to Shift Beers because at least one of them listens to our show.
Yeah.
If not more. If you guys do a hot sauce episode where you're testing hot sauce, Josh and I just very, very recently got a bottle of, actually 2 bottles, a Ghost of Saffron and Hotter Ghost of Saffron from High Desert Sauce Company. If you know who Brian Ames is, he is co-founder of a skateboard company here in Cincinnati, Ohio, and he has a YouTube channel at Brian Ames, AMBS, where he tries tons of different kinds of hot sauces. He collaborated with High Desert Sauce Company to make his own hot sauce, Ghost of Saffron. He just released Hotter Ghost of Saffron, which is 10 times the amount of ghost peppers as in the original. I ordered both of them.
Oh, shit.
They arrived a day or 2 ago. Josh and I tried them both. Ghost of Saffron is the most amazing sauce I have ever had. It's a little bit spicy, but you could put it on tacos. You could put it on chicken. I put it on macaroni and cheese, and it was fucking phenomenal.
Did you put it on your eggs in the morning?
Not yet. I'm not a hot sauce on eggs person yet.
Are you serious?
But this hot sauce could change my mind on all of that. It is the... So Josh and I like to get ridiculous hot sauces and try them. So we have had stuff that
but you challenge each other, right?
Yes,
we
have had
tortilla in the face, and you're if you spit out, then you got to have a hot sauce.
So Josh tries to make me spit out my drink without a tortilla, but we have bought the Last Dab and things that are like over 1 million Scoville as far as hot sauce goes, just to try, which wrecks me, but I do it. I still have like a little bit of it every now and then, just to show that I'm alive. So Shift Beers, if you guys want to do a hot sauce challenge with one of your Secret Santa gifts, again, not giving away too much for this podcast, Ghost of Saffron is the best hot sauce I have ever had. I want to put it on everything. This bottle that Josh and I got will be gone in no time. It is so goddamn good. The Hotter Ghost of Saffron, which has 10 times the amount of roasted ghost peppers, it's hot. It is a burn, but it's not intolerable. Like, you will survive it. Even when
going in, but how's it come? On the way out.
I haven't had any. I mean,
no.
and I put more in that spoonful. I had it on a spoon by itself.
No.
So not on food that could absorb it, just on a spoon, and I had like a teaspoon, like probably almost a tablespoon's worth of this
Julia.
stuff. My lips were tingling, my entire tongue was tingling. I got a little bit of that whiskey burn that's going down your esophagus, but I was okay after a few minutes, like that 2-3 minute ghost pepper kind of burn. So shout out to Shift Beers, hot sauce challenge if you want to do it. Ghost of Saffron is the most amazing sauce I've ever had. I legit want to put it on everything that I eat. Ridiculous.
All right.
But yeah, that's my recap, and that's what I had, at least for our recap of ship beers. And your glass is empty, mine is almost empty. So I think we need to shut this shit down.
There you go.
Oh no!
Shit. Julia,
oh no!
I just wanted to splash, and Julia
I gave the rest of the blocks. Oh no! So we're gonna wrap this up. We are maybe going to walk across the parking lot and go to the dive bar that neither of you have. You been there?
Yeah, I've been there.
Okay, so I've never been there. We may not shut BC's down, but we may go to the bar across the parking lot.
You want your blocks back?
I tried to give him a little bit of my blocks-infused high life to cheers with, and I gave him the rest of my blocks.
Oh, there we go.
Marco, was there anything else that you wanted to recap on Shift Beers before we do our closing statements and shut down this episode?
No, I just want to say that it's truly fun that throughout the beginning and the drinking that it intertwined with our pod, us personally, and the Gnome, and it's really great that there's a community of craft beer podcasts that is it has been assembled, and I just want to let anybody know that's out there that is thinking about starting a craft beer podcast or
any
podcast in the Cincinnati area.
Just do it.
Just do it, and reach out to any one of us as a resource, and we are happy to help you with information and support in whatever way that we can, because the bigger the community gets, just the better the
more
community
support
gets.
Everyone has. Absolutely. This is like you just said, this is a community effort. It is not every podcast is out for themselves. Everyone supports everyone, and it's amazing, and we love it. And I mean, just the friendships that we have made, the opportunities that we have had because of this podcast, which would not be possible for all of the podcasts that we recap.
Yep.
Is absolutely amazing. So thank you all so very, very much. Again, if you like what we do, at Truth Beer Pod on all the social media platforms, truthbeerpod@gmail.com, at Raging Hop for any complaints you might have.
Yep.
We love, this sounds weird, but we love getting them because it gives us something fun to do.
And we probably already know.
Yeah, this is true. We're probably our own harshest critics.
Right.
Truthbeerpod.com. If you would like to monetarily support us, there is a blue support us link on that website, which also gives you all of our episodes. And all of our episodes are published to YouTube in audio format. We really, really, really want to try to figure out some way of doing some type of audio or extra bonus video type content for you guys. Just with full-time jobs, multiple full-time jobs, we just haven't figured out how to do that. So if you have ideas on that, email them to us or let us know on social media. We want to do as much for you and for the craft beer community and for other Cincinnati craft beer podcasts as we possibly can. Let us know, and we'll get on it.
All right. Well, Julia, what are you going to be doing next Tuesday?
I think next Tuesday I'm going to be listening to as many Cincinnati craft beer podcasts as I possibly can, and then coming here to BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery to talk to you about them on record.
That sounds like what I'm going to do.
Awesome.
Cheers, Julia.
Cheers, plastic cups. You can't hear the cheers, but we are doing it. Have a great one, guys. We will see you next week.